Well, Trump is replaying that 90s show as he goes after the Clintons for what happened 20 years ago. The question is, will it work or backfire? Then more and more Republicans now accepting the Donald here, even the ones who couldn't stand the sight of him just a few months ago. What is going on behind this? Well, we'll discuss and debate. Also, a retired NYPD detective here on set to discuss all things policing, including the acquittal of a cop in the Freddie Gray trial in Baltimore. Also, a man tased to death while handcuffed by the cops in Georgia. The video going viral and raising a whole lot of questions. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. A little bit of everything this hour. We start though with politics. Trump is getting down and dirty, and it is still very early. Overnight, Donald Trump claiming he has no other choice but to go after former President Bill Clinton's sex scandals.
You know, they're dirty players. They've been dirty players historically, and I have to fight back the way I have to fight back.
Trump posting this video on Instagram.
I was very nervous.
That's the voice of Monica Lewinsky. The image, Bill Clinton smoking a cigar. Other audio clips include women who raised accusations about sexual misconduct against the former president. Then the video cuts to Hillary laughing. The Clinton campaign says the allegations are from 2 decades ago and a bad strategy.
The last thing we need is a bully in the pulpit.
But don't think the Donald stops there. He never just stops anywhere, does he? He's also talking about Vince Foster. You remember him? He was Clinton White House aide who took his own life. Now, this is what Trump said about that in an interview with the Washington Post. Quote, he called theories of possible foul play very serious and the circumstances of Foster's death very fishy. He went on to say, I don't bring Foster's death up because I don't know enough to really discuss it. Of course not. I will say there are people who continue to bring it up because they think it was absolutely a murder. I don't do that because I don't think it's fair. Did you notice how he brought up Vince Foster after he said he wouldn't bring up Vince Foster? Will going back to the 90s backfire on Trump, or will once again he confound everybody's idea that there is some basement that we will not go in this country in this election season? Let's go to our panel right now. Dominic Carter, political journalist and author. Scott Vanderhoef, former 5-term Republican Rockland County executive, co-chairman now of the Palisades Institute of Dominican College, and Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. Listen, this is Scott in basically the same week here that he accused Clinton of rape. Forget the fact that a lot of the voices on there never accused the president of X, Y, and Z, or they were discredited or whatever else. Listen, I can't believe a lot of things here. But the idea that this is resonating in 2016, that people don't already know this, when pressed on why are you bringing all this up, Trump said, well, the Clintons started this, and secondly, some of the millennials don't know the story. Bill Clinton's not running for president. She is. Will this again work for him? Again, it's not playing to the base. This has to play to those undecideds that out there. Does this work or backfire?
I don't think it works. It gets attention, but how much can you do this? You're going to do this for the next 5 months? Just this constant harangue? Congressman Pete King made an observation I thought was credible. He said, remember in 1998, all of us Republicans brought all this stuff up, and we didn't do well in those races. And you can't keep doing it. After a while, it's just you become numb to it. I think what Donald's trying to do is what he always does, which says, I'm going to come after you as hard as I can, and I got more stuff if you come after me, because we haven't got all the background still on Trump. But this is the only way he knows how to play. But I don't think it's going to, I think people are going to literally, it'll wash off their backs after a while and say, okay, so what else are we doing here in terms of trying to become president?
There's 2 schools of thought I've heard in this, Andrew, and this kind of applies to everything he's done through the process. If you believe he's crazy and he's Johnny One Note here, you believe that, hey, this is a news cycle, I'll talk about Bill Clinton and sex and it's easy, and I'll just keep doing that, and I won't have to answer policy questions. If you think he's crazy as a fox, it speaks a little bit to what Scott said, which is, I'm going to go on the attack on this, because I know anybody going into my personal life is going to find, forget about a closet, but, you know, a castle full of skeletons. Better, you know, be preemptive here than reactive. Which one do you think it is?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think part of it is that he throws the kitchen sink when he feels like he can, but I think also, as you mentioned, he's got so many skeletons in his own closet, particularly when it comes to his personal life, particularly when it comes to sex issues, that he gets this out now, and that somewhat neuters the attack that's going to come from the Clintons. And I know Dominic's been saying for a long time, it also neuters Bill Clinton, who would be Hillary Clinton's best attack dog on the campaign trail, and he's sort of been somewhat quiet about it. But it's, I know I've said this before, but it's the old Karl Rove school of you know, brass knuckles politics. You attack your opponent on your weakness, and that's exactly what Donald Trump's doing right now. And by the way, it is effective, and I hate to throw him under the bus, but Anthony, our floor manager, laughed when we were showing the video that showed Clinton with the cigar in his mouth. There is another generation that doesn't necessarily know or find some humor in all of this.
There is, but I can't help but thinking, to a reaction from a couple women that I saw earlier today, who said, did you see that disgusting thing that Trump did with the women and the cigar? And they, believe me, I know these ladies, they'll never be confused with Democrats. The point is, there is a line that people want to be entertained now. That's almost part of the compact. And you know what? Shame on us, me. I'm speaking about me personally here. I consciously was saying, do I even show the stupidity of this ad here? And I said it's part of the narrative and it's part of the discussion. But he's played us all for chumps. I played that spot. He didn't pay me to run it. I played part of that spot for free. A kid in an AV class in high school could have made that ad. There was no political genius with that. You have a cackling laugh and a cigar. Literally, it's the most juvenile thing I can come up with. But he gets everybody to respond to it, and we play it. 5 months is forever in politics, though, Dom. This stuff's going to get old. I almost called it something else, all right? And my point is, everybody knows this. This ain't new. At a certain point, something bad's going to happen in the country, around the world, and they're going to look to either him or her and say, what are you going to do about it? What's your policy? What's your plan? We've never gone a half of a year without a political event or a news event. I think, and again, this isn't because I can't stand the guy. I really think he's playing to somebody that's already converted. He's not changing any minds with these ads.
I think it's a genius move, to be honest with you.
Genius? Any idiot could think of it.
No.
Who couldn't think of that, Dominic?
Wait, hold on, Richard. What he's doing is relitigating all over what the Clintons went through. So all day on the news channels, what were they talking about? Were they talking about Donald Trump's weaknesses? No. They were talking about Vince Foster, allegedly whether the Clintons had something to do with it, rape, Bill Clinton's behavior in the White House, the use of cigars in the Oval Office for sexual acts.
But let's define a little bit more. Were they talking about that on Limbaugh? Were they talking about this with Glenn Beck? Were they talking about this with Hugh Hewitt? You probably are right. But I don't think one listener of any of those shows was ever contemplating, even in a parallel universe, voting for Hillary Clinton. What I'm talking about are the two ladies who don't have an R or a D next to them, are committed. I just think at a certain point you say, wait a second, whether I like the woman or not, I'm blaming her for her husband screwing around?
No,
and
that's not what the charge is.
That's completely what he did.
The charge is
he enabled her, or she enabled her.
That's the charge. That's the charge, that she covered up his alleged crimes. And if that's the case, that is a legitimate issue. And you're seeing more.
How is it legitimate?
Richard, if she covered up his crimes.
What crimes?
If I don't know if it's accurate.
Just be specific.
Okay.
What legal case?
Rape, sexual harassment. So if he did those things.
No. Dominic,
I'm saying I don't have any evidence to prove that he did those things.
This is 20-something years old. Okay,
right, but it's old to you. It's not old to everybody else.
But you make it sound like it's a legitimate case.
It is a legitimate issue.
Just like President Obama, which, remember what Trump said. He was a birthright, that he wasn't a legal citizen.
Right.
That's a legal issue because he says so? So because he says rape, that's a legal issue? Maybe you guys follow the news cycle. What charges of rape have been brought against Clinton?
This goes back to, Kathleen Willey from the late 70s, who didn't come forward until like 99 during the Clinton administration. It was an allegation, and there was never, she couldn't even remember the date or the month when the attack allegedly happened. You've also got You know, you've got the Lewinsky stuff, obviously.
There are
that
several
happened.
allegations.
There are some allegations. None of them have ever been
Right, it's
verified.
allegations.
So why do you think allegations to a charge?
Because the American people have a funny way of deciding what's an issue.
Right.
But how long can you go on by throwing everything against the wall and hoping it sticks when you have no factual evidence?
Because here's what I believe what he's trying to do. Damage her, define your opponent before they have a chance to define you. Basically what Andrew said. Throw her on the ropes, which is working. She is on the ropes.
But they hate him even more than they hate her by every single poll in this country.
And then who's that? You said the American people?
Yes.
Okay,
his unfavorables are higher than any other candidate in the history of campaigns at this point.
His goal is to narrow that gap.
Right,
and he can either make himself more likable, which I don't know if he knows how to do that, so he's going to make her less likable.
Despite the fact that I have been wrong about Trump for a full year, okay, plus, by August, this is not news anymore.
Okay,
and
you know what I was just trying to say? What I was just trying to say is, once he defines her and he's hoping that he takes the lead in the polls, that she'll never be able to recoup and come back. That's what he's hoping. And I believe it might be quite effective.
Okay, well, I'll say two things that I think, at least if history is a guide to anything. One is, you said it yourself. You can do this for so long. But at a certain point, I don't think the American public's as stupid as you think they are, okay?
I didn't say they were stupid.
They have to be sibling morons if they think something from 1977 that the husband didn't even allegedly do, there's been never a charge filed, okay, is going to be the determining factor in how they pull a lever, one. Two is, I know every single campaign that I've ever covered, at a certain point, they actually ask, what are you going to do if you're president? To this point, all I know is he's going to build a wall that Mexico's going to pay for, and he's going to be able with telepathy to see if you're a Muslim that he'll bar you from the country, and that he'll be able to magically create jobs across this country while lowering taxes and also, by every economist, putting about $10 trillion in debt. I still haven't heard for the 10%, not the people already voting for her and him, how the 10%, that's a winning message.
Look, I hope you're right about the second part, that this actually at some point does boil down.
Well, tell me when it never happened,
Just boils down
Give
to
me one time it's ever never happened.
The entire Republican primary process. That's the answer.
I'm talking about a general election.
I understand that. It hasn't happened yet, and I'm hoping you're right, and then we wind up focusing on the issues. As to your first point, no, I don't think people are going to pull the lever based on this, but it's cumulative. You build and you mar your opponent little by little so that doubt creeps back into the voters' minds, and they get reminded, if nothing else, they get reminded of the drama that wasn't policy or country related in the 90s and think, do we really want that again?
Do you think any of that's new, though?
Well, not only that, but I mean, unfortunately, you hit it. I mean, media loves, if it's sex, that's what they follow. That's what they're going to follow. It doesn't make it right, but that's what works. And so it's sex and murder and rape, and people go, oh, I better listen to this one. And you know what? The coverage is there. So someone says, well, let's talk about our emails. I don't understand the emails. That gets lost. That's a real issue.
Do you believe just for a second, he, in a week, has accused his opponent of rape and murder indirectly without a scintilla of evidence, and somehow that's smart politics. I mean, honestly, and I'm no Vestal Virgin here covering this stuff, I've never heard of something so disgusting in my life, and I'd say that I don't care the person of the party that's throwing it out there. Roger Stone, a guy with a tattoo of Nixon across his back, is somehow now the arbitrator of what is going to be the discussion for a critical presidential election right now. I don't know. We have completely headed into the world of bizarre. All right, coming up next. They didn't like him until they liked him. A lot of Republicans are now backing the same guy that says he will make America great again. So why the sudden change of heart? We'll discuss.